Hey, Leighton, how's it
Hey,
going?
man. Good. How are you?
Good. I'm feeling a little bit guilty that uh, we've left our Substack audience with no lipods for quite a while.
Yeah, I was like, we're terrible at this.
Yeah, we're not good. I mean, both of us have a lot of we're juggling a lot of things. You're
Mhm.
moving. You just moved.
Yes, which is why I have this janky makeshift setup right now for my daughter's bedroom.
It
This
looks
is
good. Looks
a
comfortable.
lucky backdrop next time.
And I've been traveling. I went to a free speech conference in London.
Hmm.
uh, and had a few other work related things. I can post a link to it, but I debated a member of parliament and a conservative columnist in London about Israel, and a lot of that topic veered towards free speech. And then I took a vacation with my wife in France, and we've
Nice.
also been working on some other projects. So I've not to make an excuse. We could probably force some more podcast episodes when both of us are busy in the future and I want to get back to a regular schedule. But both of us have been a little bit out of it recently.
Yeah, I think in this between the time that we last did a podcast and now, let's see, there's been we've bombed Iran. There were riots in LA. There's the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. All these news
The
cycles.
government added a new law that gives
Right.
us a $75 billion ICE agency, which is larger than all the other federal law enforcement agencies combined.
Hmm.
Most other militaries of other countries don't have as large of a budget. It
Hmm.
adds $4 trillion to the national debt. It radically changes the tax code and healthcare for low income and working class people in this country through changes to Medicaid. Yeah, and now
Trump reversed himself on Ukraine, is now sending arms there.
that's right. But I've written, the Epstein stuff is actually kind of like, all the things you just mentioned, bombing Iran, a real kind of market shift in immigration enforcement, changes to healthcare and taxes and spending. I want to be a serious journalist and say, let's talk about those things first.
Hmm.
But the Epstein stuff is not only more newsy, but it's it's fascinating on so many levels. It's both symbolic, it's meaty. It reveals really the very first time in this administration, this at least the second administration of Trump, where he's lost the support of his diehard supporters, or at least a very significant chunk of them. It's
Yeah,
really interesting, and
I would say it's serious journalism to discuss it, not regardless of what you think about the veracity of the allegations, because this is the single most politically consequential thing that's happened, I think, since Trump was reelected. Like this is
yeah,
the
I
thing.
think you
This
can
is
make that case.
sick. Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit weird in the context of all the things we just mentioned, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's symbolic, and like politics is much of it is layered between law and policy and symbolism, and this just represents the two-tier justice system that motivates the last 10, 20 years of populism, that people are so angry that there's at least feels like there's a system for the elites and for the powerful and a different one for everyone else. It touches on kind of this concern that is now kind of right wing coded, but really is like a very traditional left issue of this deep state, this permanent cabal of bureaucrats and law enforcement officials and intelligence officials who seem to skate above society and kind of have control no matter who's in power. That,
Mhm.
and Epstein had really cultivated a very, probably intentionally, bipartisan clientele, or his Rolodex was people like Bill Richardson, former governor of New Mexico, was very close to him. Bill Clinton rode on the plane many times. Many other Democrats took money from him, were close to him, Chuck Schumer. And then, of
Mhm.
course, many powerful Republicans as well. So he kind of inoculated himself through bipartisan credentials.
Can we just start with a baseline? I just want to ask you, just to put us on the same page or maybe on different pages. Um, Number one, do you believe that he killed himself? And number two, do you believe that there's a client list that exists?
Number one, I don't know. There's not enough information to have a strong feeling, right? Like I get the suspicion, um, the those strange circumstances at that holding facility, that prison, that like certain guards weren't on duty. Now this video that they released was edited.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still. I think most likely, if I had to put money on it, he did kill himself. But
Mm-hmm.
there's the potential for a gigantic cover up that is there. So I don't know.
Client list.
And then the list, I think, is a misnomer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there a single Excel document with each person's name and then how many children and women they had sex with, and then like the location and time and date? Probably not. But that's not the issue. The issue, like, that's become the meme. Like, will you release the Epstein list, the list, the list, the list? The issue is that the FBI, when they raided his various homes, um, both in back in the first prosecution in 2007, 2006, and then the more recent cases in 2018, 2019, uh, they collected a lot of evidence, and those evidence are held in the FBI's vault in their kind of warehouse for all of their evidence for the thousands of cases they investigate, hundreds of thousands, in Winchester, Virginia, and their files, their photographs. There's hours and hours of footage on various recordings. There's computer files, on computer hardware, uh, and we know from documented evidence, very high quality reporting from Vanity Fair, Miami Herald, Wall Street Journal, that he kept a lot of notes. He took a lot of pictures of people he partied with, of the women that he had sex with, both young women and women underage. Um, it seems likely that a lot of those photographs are not just of the victims; they're also of his friends and associates that also engaged in sex acts with those women. Uh, you know, he had footage, security cameras at all his homes. I imagine that much of the security cam footage was destroyed, but if any of it still exists, that's that would be very interesting to see. So, like, the list, who cares about lists? There's
Mm-hmm.
evidence out there that the government has.
And I should have
Uh,
added a third question to it. Do you think that he works for intelligence of any country? Maybe works for us the wrong way. Do you think he is collaborating with any intelligence services?
well, let's back up. In 2006, a police Palm Beach police are called by the mother of I think then 14-year-old girl who had gone and given many massages and had many sex acts with Epstein, and it begins unraveling where we stand today. That uh, you know we can get into the totally farcical prosecution that it led to. This weird non-prosecution agreement with Epstein. They only focused on one victim, even though there were dozens and dozens of these high school age girls that he was getting massages from. Sending flowers to their high school, giving them, is like a multi-level marketing scheme. He would engage in a massage or a sex act, and then give them money to go recruit other girls from their, from their circle or from their schools. And they only prosecuted him over one girl, even though there was clear that there were many. And he was convicted of child prostitution. Then, even after that conviction, almost immediately after, he's flying on the plane with foreign dignitaries. He has, we know from the emails that were released from the J.P. Morgan U.S. Virgin Island litigation, that he was regularly corresponding around that time with Ehud Barak, and was getting in touch with Netanyahu. He had all these, like, this person was convicted of child prostitution, and then nothing changes, and they're still partying and corresponding and meeting with all these foreign prime ministers of countries like Israel and
Mm-hmm.
royalty from England. It's like, the I don't know. In terms of like a solid documented case of like, okay, he was working for intelligence. I don't think anyone has that. They just have, we just have so many strange circumstances that make it seem like that's the only plausible answer for this entire mystery. But
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's possible though.
How does that work? Like, say he's working for Mossad, or he's working for CIA or whatever, um, and then he's busted and prosecuted, even on some like completely trivial charges compared to his actual crimes. Like how I don't actually expect you to know this because this is like cloak and dagger stuff, but I'm like wondering like how do you keep an asset like that in play? Like at what point do they just go? You'd think that they would just have to pull the plug and just be like, well, this gig is over. We can't continue with this. This guy's now under investigation for this stuff. Unless he was so, he had so much important information and relationships that they were like, oh, fuck it. Even though he's being convicted of this, let's just keep plowing forward and just see where it goes. I don't understand how he survives even a single arrest or prosecution.
Well, that's what makes this weird. Like the conviction was both a scarlet letter. It's like you're convicted for child prostitution. Like
Right. So like
why is anyone convicted? Why is Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and all these people
yeah.
willing to associate? Yet, um, he had this non-prosecution agreement that was very bizarre, and allegedly Alex Acosta, who later served in the first Trump administration, but at the time was the Bush-appointed U.S. Attorney for Southern District of Florida. People asked why. A reporter asked why was there such a slap on the wrist for such a serious and heinous set of crimes, and he said, I was told that
Belongs
Epstein was. I don't want to get the wording wrong, but he was like an asset with
belongs
the
to
intelligence
intelligence.
agencies. It
Yeah. Belongs to intelligence, I think was the quote. But
belongs, yeah, thank you.
yeah. So then
Um,
but if you're Bill Clinton, like I do. This is the part that I find far fetched, or just I don't get. Like, anybody with any kind of even a basic instinct for political self preservation would cut links. I mean, is it just like, well,
okay,
this guy he has
well,
so many young women that I'm just gonna that it's like I can't resist. It just seems crazy that they would
let's
continue
think
to
about it another way.
their
We, we
self. Mm-hmm.
we have limited insight into how foreign intelligence agencies work, right? Or even
Mm-hmm.
our own, the CIA or what have you. But there's been a lot of very high quality reporting and disclosures about how our domestic law enforcement works, which is kind of a parallel, right? Like when the FBI has a network of thousands of informants,
Mm-hmm.
you could say that's kind of like that are it's very much intelligence gathering for the FBI. Like if the FBI wants to infiltrate a domestic terror organization or the mob or the Mexican mafia or some kind of criminal enterprise, they use informants, right?
Right.
And we've seen a very recognizable pattern over the last 20 years, really since, I think this kind of skyrocketed after during the war on terror, where they leaned particularly on ex felons. They would go to people with a criminal record who got caught up in drugs or violence or domestic violence, and they said, "Oh, we can make this go away. We can we can make sure that you're kind of taken care of. Uh, but it would be really nice if you just kind of went back to your former associates or kind of
Right.
joined this gang or this political organization or this Islamist group and reported back to us. You
That
look at
that
all
part
these
that
informants;
part I
they have a criminal record.
No, that part I get, but and I'm not a close follower of the Epstein stuff, so I'll just ask a naive question, which is like when he was initially charged, was that a news story? Was that public?
Yeah,
He didn't
Gawker
bury
had actually great coverage.
right. So then,
Um,
so it's
Miami
out.
Herald.
So it's out in the news, and then you're Bill Clinton, and you're like, I think I'll go back to that island with him again. Like that's the
Well,
part that I don't
I'm not
like.
sure if Bill Clinton. It's been confirmed that he went to the island after that.
Uh huh.
But Epstein moved a lot of like he was abusing young girls at his New York home and his Palm Beach home,
And
and
then
he
just
really seemed to
Mexico.
move a lot of his operations to the Virgin Islands because now we know from the recent litigation that he basically owned the islands. Like he literally owned Little St. James, but he politically bought off. He gave the customs agents who were just turning a blind eye to him. I mean, we have cases where the customs agents saw him bringing young girls onto the tarmac, loading them onto the helicopter to take to the island or to the ferry, and they never reported him to the police. He was giving them gifts every Thanksgiving, bringing turkeys, donating to their families, donating to their civic leagues, buying off all the politicians. So he actually had an exemption to the Virgin Islands sex offender list where he was supposed to be logged every time he was entering and exiting the island. They didn't log him because he won an actual. They gave him an actual exemption.
Was that someone was? I'm sorry. Did he achieve that with the help of Stacey Plaskin? What did she do for him?
Kind of. Stacey Plaskett, the representative of the Virgin Islands, she was elected with Epstein's help. He put a lot of money into her first election. There's lots of emails where they talk about, this is our person. How did he know her before she ran for Congress? She worked for Erica Keller Halls, a law firm in the Virgin Islands that helped. It was just kind of his fixer, helped him with tax credits, helped him with lobbying. You look at the emails that were surfaced through the Virgin Islands litigation. Who lobbied for his exemption from the sex offender list? Erica Keller Halls,
No.
Stacey Plaskett's old boss. So yeah, there's an interesting connection there.
Yeah. So okay, so that brings us to the present. Let's just talk about Trump's bearing the story. Like, this is like, I feel like this is almost like a gossip conversation when we talk about this, because this isn't based on any hard reporting. You know a lot more about the backstory than I do, but it's just sort of like, well, what do you think about this tawdry rumor or that tawdry rumor? But is there a working theory as to why Trump would bury this, other than that there is so aggressively, other than that there is something incriminating in there about him or about the people he associates with?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not him, it's someone he has associations with. And look, we know again from the recent reporting and litigation, like Leon Black, billionaire private equity guy, Les Wexner, mega Republican donor, huge donor to pro-Israel causes, were some of Epstein's closest associates. Wexner donated one of the largest homes in all of Manhattan to Epstein for there's still no clear reason why he did this. He's got this close relationship.
We don't even know where money came from, right?
It came from Wexner and others, but yeah, we don't have a full accounting of where this hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars came from. He claimed people gave him money. Essentially, he said that he was doing all this investing stuff, but it's like, okay, if you're a hedge fund or private equity, there's a money trail of you buying companies or buying equities and trading them for a profit. Like, there's a custodial chain of evidence that we could track, and there's no evidence that he engaged in any kind of alternative investing for the very rich. When they investigated his companies that were based in the Virgin Islands that had most of this wealth, he's a ton of corporate entities that were registered under his name, but the main ones that had most of the money, it claimed that it was doing some kind of informatic research and high-tech research, and that's why they won all these tax credits. They didn't have to pay any taxes on the Virgin Islands. And they investigated. They had no one there. They just had a couple, basically political assistants who helped him hand out checks in the Virgin Islands to buy influence. There were no hedge fund analysts or researchers or anyone doing financial investments. It was just these kind of political cronies that were greasing the wheels of his sex trafficking enterprise in the Virgin Islands. So yeah, it's a big mystery.
I haven't heard. It's funny, just like the politics of this are pretty crazy, because so Trump is now, I think for the first time I've ever seen him outwardly just disparaging his own base, saying that they're what were they?
He said stupid, right? Like
yeah.
He doesn't even want your support. He doesn't want your support if you care about this.
Yeah.
He's made a bunch of posts that are very unusual.
And then and then I've seen just only a couple of people who have kind of his fans